It's the Talk of Nelson. Talk Nelson Radio. Sport. The Mako Rugby Roundup.
Welcome to episode 4 of the Mako Rugby Roundup podcast, where we find out who the fanatics are when it comes to all things rugby in the top of the south. My name is Chris Butler and my co-host, Mr. Rugby himself, Les Edwards. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Looking forward to a big chat today about some great things happening in First 15 rugby, club rugby, and of course the test match.
Yeah, that's right. College rugby, senior men's. We've got a special guest, New Zealand under-20s and Chiefs manager, Martin Vercoe. So that's going to be very interesting. And he was with the Mako as well.
Yeah, he had a great time with us from 2014 to 2020 as our team manager. So looking forward to talking to one of the great men of rugby in Marty Vercoe.
And All Blacks, the second test. And the card fiasco. We'll talk more about that and, of course, a Mako update. But let's get things underway with college rugby first. And Nelson College, who is in first position, taking on St Thomas in second place. Front field, 11 a.m.
Yeah, so a very big weekend for First 15 rugby in our region. All three teams playing in locally. So first of all, at 11 a.m. on Saturday, we've got Nelson College playing St Thomas's. Yeah, it's just the most important game, I guess, on the calendar when one plays two. And I know that Nelson College will be geared up for a big game. They'll have their alumni out in their hundreds, lining the front field to cheer this very good Nelson College team going. After this, we've only got 2 more rounds, so it's really the pointy end of the season. So good luck to all of you Nelson College players and your supporters.
I'm sure they'll be out in force. Waimea Combined is playing Marlborough Boys, and that's at Waimea College, so they don't have to get on the bus.
No, they don't. Finally, Waimea College and your supporters, you can stay home, get up at a reasonable hour. Your game kicks off at 12 noon. It is against the Whangamaya rival in Marlborough Boys College. We wish you very well, both teams.
Absolutely. You watched a couple of games, or you watched a game last week, is that right? Yeah. The Stuffed Tasman Trophy semi-finals were on, and looks like a couple of close matches.
Indeed they were. I travelled over to Lansdowne Park and we live streamed the game between Central and Marist, and it was a cracking game of rugby. I mean, the quality being played at this time of the year is excellent, and it must be really heartwarming for our Tasman Mako selectors to see terrific rugby. Now, in this game, Central ranked number 1, hosting number 4 Marist, but Marist defending premier, so they went over there on a mission. But it was a game where a pretty stiff nor'wester had quite an influence, and Marist had it at their backs in the first half, spent a lot of time in Central's 22, but each time they got repelled by the Central defence and would walk back to halfway with 3 points up rather than 5 or 7. So at half-time, they actually trailed with the wind by 19 points to 15. Sam Briggs had kicked 5 penalties for Marist with all that territory. Central got 3 opportunities in the Marist half and capitalised, so they went to the lead. You would have thought with the nor'wester that Central would run away with it, but again, Marist just stuck to their task also, and it ended up being a game that came down to the final play. A Marist line-out on the Central line, 26-22. All they need is a 5-pointer, but Central, their defence again came to the fore, snatched the line-out and booked themselves a place in the final.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, it was an awesome game, and hats off to both teams, but especially the Central forward pack. Their defence connection, alignment, willingness to just get stuck in is going to stand them in very good stead in the final. In the other semi-final, Kahurangi beat Renwick by 29 points to 20. Renwick were, by all accounts, very willing in this game, but Kahurangi had it, as I understand it, under control. 29-20 is a good win, and I think it's awesome that the number 1 and number 2 ranked teams are going to play off in the final.
Yeah, that's right. And we'll just say, for a long time now, it hasn't been played at Trafalgar Park. So the final's actually at Lansdowne Park.
Yes, it's the first final in terms of, finals rugby being played in Blenheim. Central had the chance to be the second Blenheim club to win the Tasman Trophy. In 2014, Waitoi won it. But that was on a round-robin basis. So this is with the introduction of playoffs.
Right.
This is a really good opportunity for a Blenheim club to win our most prestigious trophy, the Stuffed Tasman Trophy. So it's going to be a great game. I think Kahurangi will be very good in this game. They played in a final last year. They say you got to lose one to win one. So, they know what they're in for, and it's a very good Kahurangi side. So this game's going to be live streamed on the Tasman Community Rugby Facebook page, and I suggest to you, if you can't get to Lansdowne Park, have a look at the game. You're going to see some terrific rugby.
Fantastic. So there'll be a bit of a crowd going over, I'd imagine, Les?
Yeah, I was asking the Kahurangi people if they have some buses lined up and whether or not they were going to get into a pub if they couldn't travel, but so far I don't think so. They're going to regather at 8 o'clock at the Rewalker club rooms.
Oh, right.
So after the game, so anyway, win or lose, they'll be able to have a sherbet or two and celebrate the season. But it'll be wonderful just to get the game to them if they can't travel.
And traditionally, the finals have always been very, very close, haven't they? So it's going to be a very interesting match.
Yeah, I think so. This will be another one of those, Chris, where, they're evenly matched. Central, very, very strong in the forwards. Kahurangi, some very talented backs. I just love this contest. I think it's going to be terrific. 15 on 15, fairly equally matched. Awesome. A couple of interesting players will be appearing. One for Kahurangi, and Luca Inch, the Highlander and Tasman Mako prop, is playing. And for the Central and Moana Pacifica winger, Timothy Tavatava Nawai is playing for them. So a couple of big names to watch out for, along with a whole lot of really talented club players.
You're with the Mako Rugby Roundup, and it's time for our very special guest. It's a pleasure to welcome Martin Vercoe to our podcast. Martin was the Mako team manager between 2014 and 2020, including our 2 NBC Premiership victories. In 2021, he took over as Chiefs team manager, and from 2016 also served as the team manager for the New Zealand under-20s. And Marty, firstly, congratulations on a fantastic, successful tour with the under-20s New Zealand team with the Oceania Championship in Australia, and wins over Fiji, Argentina and Australia. How does this group of young men stack up for our next generation?
Yeah, thanks. It's a pleasure to be on with you guys today. The results, I suppose, speak for themselves, and the great work the players and the coaches and all the other staff put into our campaign. I suppose at the start of the campaign, I was sort of grappling a bit to work out the relative strength of this cohort that we had compared to previous years. But one thing sort of stuck with me was the depth of the group. There wasn't so much stars, dotted throughout the group, but I think, that's testament to this group, and I think this group should provide real depth to NBC and super teams in the coming years, so I think that bodes really well for New Zealand rugby.
Marty, how lovely to hear your voice. Great to have you on the show. A legend of Mako Rugby, 7 years with us, a wonderful team manager and just a good bloke on and off the park around us. Mate, 5 Tasman players in your tour party. So you had Noah Hotham and Macca Springer, who played all 3 games, and then you had Monu Molly, Nick Fakena and Viliama Napa'a in the squad also. So my basic question is, how'd they handle it all on and off the field for you?
Yeah, well, firstly, massive ups to the development program at Tasman Rugby. In my tenure with the New Zealand 20s, I actually can't remember, having more than 1 or 2 players at best, per campaign in the New Zealand 20s. I think maybe Will Jordan and Tima Whainukulu were with us in 2017 in Georgia, but that's probably the most we've ever had. So it's a bit of a record, so that's awesome. And also to have Macca coming out of Waimea College and Monu and Vili out of Marlborough Boys shows the pathway system is working. You can go to a less fancy rugby school and still make those national teams, which is great. They were all great teammates. As you said, Macca, Noah, demanded starting spots and were really good. And I think, Monu for me was a big mover in our 20s campaign. He played a lot more game time. He probably went as the 7th front rower, so that's really good for him. He got a little bit of a ding against Australia in the last game to his knee, so hopefully, he gets back sooner rather than later with that. And Billy and Nick, the experience at that level will be awesome for their development, and it showed the level they can get to. It should be great part of their careers and their development.
Marty, Les tells me this is your last stint as manager of the under-20s. So what happens now? Is it going to be mainly concentrating on the Chiefs role?
Yeah. My last tour of duty with the 20s, was a great way that everybody banded together. It was a great finish. The New Zealand 20s will always be a massive part of my career, like Tasman was, and and opened up so many on and off-field experiences around the globe. We had some fun over the years, and with the 20s program reverting back to its old format with a World Cup every year, it sort of means it cuts into super season, and obviously my Chiefs commitments are a priority. I really enjoy my role with the Chiefs and want to give that 110%, and I really want to win a super title with the Chiefs, so that's a real priority. As well, I'm really lucky my wife and family have settled really well. They live in Cambridge, we live in Cambridge, and they've got their own sports and interests and really enjoy supporting the team I'm involved with. And I can't speak highly enough about my first 2 seasons with the Chiefs. It's an awesome bunch of players, coaches, HB staff, the wider organisation, so really lucky to be part of that. We'll really miss being part of a New Zealand team, but hopefully in the near future, if it works around my Chiefs commitments, hopefully I can get into another New Zealand team at some stage.
And you have a couple of Mako men there at the Chiefs, big fan of Alex Nankivell and also Atu Moli. So how do they fit in with the Chiefs' mana there and culture?
Yeah, well, as everybody knows in Tasman, they're top lads, and they're a big part of our Chiefs setup. Nank has played valuable and big minutes for us over the last few years, and off-field, he's a bit of a pulse of our social committee, which is so important in a long super season, and really vital to the vibe of the place. And Atu, everybody knows his qualities, and he's part of our leadership group at the Chiefs, and has been a vital voice for some of the younger players who he helps mentor up there. And he leads things like our haka, and he leads in his quite powerful way that he has since he was a schoolboy. I remember teaching him way back when at Marlborough Boys, and he hasn't changed and is a massive part of Chiefs. So really proud that those two are pillars of our Chiefs environment.
So Marty, 7 years as we mentioned with the Mako. I guess you often run into other Mako players and coaches while you're travelling around the circuit for Super Rugby. What's it like when you catch up with everybody?
It's great, mate. You definitely catch up with some of the coaches for a wee brew, a coffee before games, and and you catch up with players and stuff like that. And it's really quite powerful and meaningful to see where they're going in their careers. Especially some of the lads that have managed to make it to the main All Black side and stuff like that. It's just awesome. And Tasman's very special to me. It really helped shape me. We played in some big matches in my time there, and some big pressure moments and matches. So, it helps you understand what mindset and processes you need, to bring to those things. But I owe my career to the Mako. Without all the quality people, players, staff, with there, you wouldn't be at the point of my career now where you can enjoy their company, at super level and above. So, it's really fond memories of those 7 seasons.
And do you catch any of those players you run into? Do you catch them out for not carrying their Mako coin, Marty?
Well, actually, yes, mate. That's a really painful one for me at the moment, because let's just say after our final game against Australia, I was one of only 6 former or present Mako men that didn't have his coin on the Sunshine Coast. So, my savings hit a bit of a bubble there, but. Always, as Clark Germany, my old friend, used to always say, we need to get a tattoo, but it might have been a cheaper option for me in the long run.
Yeah, indeed. So, looking back on that Mako period of play, right? Lots of super players have come out of the team, including a number of All Blacks, and of course those 2 premierships of 2019 and 2020. So I just wanted to ask you about some of the people that were in those squads. So from your perspective, Marty, the toughest player you had in a Mako squad?
Well, these questions, I think they're gonna be pretty tough. Yeah, it's R18, is it? I'm not sure.
Go for it.
Yeah, toughest player. Good question. Jeez. Especially early in my tenure, you had the likes of Alex Ainley, Liam Squire, Jordan Taufua, Jimmy Cowan. They all come to mind, both physically and mentally really tough players. And then recently, you've got guys like Sione Havili. But, yeah, actually, I can think of one player really does stick out to me, that's Shane Christie. He was ruthless as a player and really good as a coach with that mentality as well, being really ruthless and on, and he never took a backward step. I even look back to some of the games that we actually got tipped up in, like the 2-14, 16, 17 finals. That's not nice to say, rolls off the tongue too quick. And maybe our semi-final in 2-15 when we got tipped up, and he kept us in those games. They would have been, we would have been away second if it wasn't for him, but his relentless efforts in those games and some other big games where we didn't quite make it, it was always him that kept us in games. So, yeah, Shane Christie for me, I think.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent selection on your part there. Shane Christie absolutely epitomises toughness, both on the field and also that mindset of just wanting to win. Now, our Mako values are pretty strong, and players really enjoy being around each other. They have a great time. But who amongst us epitomises the Mako values and standards the most in your mind?
Oh, I'm going to lose some friends here. You're stitching me up here, Les. But that's, again, a great question, eh? One that's hard to answer with just one player. But, I mean, again, early in my tenure, Tavita Kulamatangi, Vernon Fredericks come to mind. Me and Andrew Goodman, both as a player, as a coach, again, emphasise all those values. I could go on and on. There's a big list. But I suppose for me, probably somebody like Ethan Blackadder, just a great man, both on and off the field. Worked really, really hard at his craft. It didn't come easy for him. And just his humility, what the team and the province means to him, I think it'd have to be Ethan.
Yeah, I think you're dead right there. He's had some bad injuries over his time, but he always turns up. He's always there. He's helping coach lineouts, or he's just helping you out, or helping anybody who needs a hand. And to my way of thinking, his humility is absolutely awesome. He's just one of the men, and no airs and graces with Ethan.
100%. He's the type of guy that you'll want to be part of an organisation because he's in it. So, yeah, great man.
Now, we've had a lot of great attacking play in the Mako lineup over the years, over your 7 years. But who, in your mind, was the most creative player you had that you managed?
Mate, this is harder than a university exam. Well, we
are fanatics, so we want to know what's going on.
Yeah. Mate, I'm loving it. It actually winds back the clock. Jeepers. I always rank somebody like Andrew Makaleo as a special player who could make things happen, but oh man, there's so many coming to mind, like J-Lo, scored some great tries, obviously in the Irish team now. I mean, you can't go too far past Marty Banks. He was a cold hero, especially early on. These days, Finn Christie, Mitch Hunt, they drove us to 2 premiership wins. Actually, one that I don't think can be matched for a winning, creativity. Like he won us a few games by himself, would have to be Will Jordan. I think, he brought an X factor that we'd never seen before in a Mako jumper, and probably, when he got to the top of his game with the Mako was around about 219. And we only really had him for a season when he was at his best, and that's the year we won, when we had pretty much a Rolls-Royce team at 219.
Yeah, undefeated, 12 games.
Yeah, so it'd have to be Will, I think, in terms of pure creativity and just X factor would be Will Jordan, I think.
Yeah, he's got that amazing ability, vision, if you like, to see what's happening in front of him and downfield, and his kick and chase and regathers. We saw that for the Mako before he did it for the All Blacks against Ireland.
We knew what was coming, didn't we?
Yeah.
I was probably a bit harsh on him because I said, he really hit his straps at 219. He was actually awesome right from the start. And the great thing is, I'm saying all these names, and when you say them, you smile because they're real, good people off the field as well, and real mischiefs and characters. So, awesome.
Yeah, and lastly, the best all-round Mako player you had around you.
Oh, wow, mate.
Look, mate, there's absolutely no pressure, you know.
Wow.
And no one's listening.
No.
Yeah. Wow, phew. Yeah. I suppose, been lucky to work with over 100, great Mako men. We were in the 80s, I think, and we're up to 200 when I left. So really hard to single out a few. In terms of best all-round Mako, that I've managed, like I suppose that you really enjoyed managing. I always enjoyed the lads that flattered across the road in my years. They're always, up to something. The likes of Nanks, Quinny, Hunty, Red. Tim O'Malley, who came through the Blenheim rank, was always a bit of a fave. I used to call him fave as well, and tell him that a key to good leadership is not having favourites. But, he was just an awesome personality, and his banter, was always RA team, good fun. I suppose I always had a soft spot for David Haverley. He probably would be my best ever Mako to manage. He debuted the same day as me, which is always special. That guy got rinsed every ounce of rugby out of himself. Always got the best out of himself. And his love and his care for his fellow Mako and the organisation, second to none. And seeing him when he played his 50th, for example, we towed up Auckland, which was special, in Lansdowne Park back in 2019, and the raw emotion and him getting his Mako blazer from somebody like Andrew Goodman and what it meant to him with his family there, that for me is a real Mako man. So it'd have to be probably Davey H, I think.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I recall, of course, the 2020 Premiership when we went up to Auckland, and Auckland were absolute favourites. And David, and we lost Mitchell Hunt, early, 15 minutes into the game. And David Haverley basically willed that victory for us, both sides of the ball. He basically took the ball on attack and did what he had to do, and defended so well, and that premiership was as close to I've seen of one guy just willing a victory out of himself.
Yeah, 100% correct, mate. Like his leadership skills, we wouldn't have got there without him. So yeah, great man. Let's hope he plays really well for the All Blacks in the coming weeks.
Yeah, he's got a gig tomorrow in the 12 jersey, so we're looking forward to watching him run around for sure. Marty, always a pleasure to catch up with you. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. I really appreciate the candidness, but also appreciate being able to put you on the spot and being a bit cheeky with you as I do.
Yeah, that's, we've had great banter over the years, and just a big shout out to everybody back at Tasman Rugby, still really fond in my heart, and I wish everybody really well for the upcoming finals and the Tasman Trophy and Community Rugby and Junior Rep program and the Mako FPC as well. So give it all, everybody.
Great, thanks, Marty. Been a pleasure. Thanks very much.
Fins up, Marty.
Fins up. Bye now.
There we go. Martin Vercoe, congratulations to him with the New Zealand under-20s. They've all been pretty successful, haven't they? That's the legacy that he's left there.
Yeah, and his human qualities are just perfect for a manager. So Marty's really interested in having a lot of fun. But he's got a steel in his backbone too, so that when a player gets out of line, they know right. They know who the boss is.
You know it. Yeah. When you get that stare.
But he's part of the reason why people love. Well, he and his successor Stu Hunter are part of the reason why the players like to come here, because there is that nice balance of lightness and having fun, and then getting down to the hard work. And good managers can do that. So Marty's had a great career, and I could imagine his goal. He didn't say it, but his goal may well be to be the All Blacks manager.
Fantastic. There you go, Martin Vercoe, New Zealand under-20s and Chiefs manager. You're with the Mako Rugby Roundup, and before we get into the Test series, Les, can you make any sense of what happened with the card fiasco?
Yes, I can.
Oh, you can?
So I actually...
Because no one else could.
No, because it annoyed the hell out of me. Watching breakfast one morning, they had a person come on, and they asked what went on, and she said, I don't know. and it's like, well, surely it's your job to know. So, look, I've broken it down, and basically it goes like this. So Lester Whanganuka gets a yellow card in the 17th minute, and we're down to 14 men. Then Ofa Tuangafasi gets a yellow after 25 minutes, and we're down to 13 men, and Angus Tarvau comes on as a front row replacement, gets replaced by Dalton Papa'i'i. Angus Tarvau, the replacement, gets a red card at the 31 minute. Aidan Ross comes on for the next scrum and replaces Ardie Savea, right? So at this point, New Zealand should have been down to 12 players, right? With the uncontested scrum.
Yeah.
But they stayed at 13. Then Ofa Tu'ungafasi came back at the 36-minute mark, and the ref ruled that as Papa'i'i replaced Tu'ungafasi, he should stay on, and as Savea replaced the red carded Tarvau, he could not return to play. All of which, under laws 320 and 330, is rubbish.
Ah,
Tarvau was acting as Papa'i'i when he was red carded, therefore Papa'i'i shouldn't have been allowed to return after his sending off. And Ross was acting as Savea, following me. And when Tu'ungafasi returned from the bin and Ross went back to the bench, Savea should have been back.
Right,
So
interesting.
That's it. Neither the referees... Well, the referees did not know the law. Now, I know that Foster got a little bit of grief for apparently making a wrong call. He was actually saying to the referees, he knew what was going on, and he just felt that he'd been nutted.
So. It was interesting because when I was watching on the sideline, I thought, I thought it was a manager mistake. All the camera was on the All Blacks manager, and I thought, and he was trying to figure it out. But
Shandy was fighting for these two laws. He knew what needed to be done, but they just weren't listening. So unfortunately, Savea spent the whole time on the sideline, which is not good when you've got arguably your best player not participating.
Oh, thanks for clearing that up, Les.
It took a bit of homework.
I bet it did.
But there you go. Savea is back, of course, in the back row, and we can talk about the third test shortly, but I'd love to know what you thought of that second test.
Well, to be honest, great start by Ireland. I mean, they, as with the first test, they really dominated us. But I just think it was a series of events, towards the second part of the first half when those things were going on, and it just put us under the cosh. And of course, when you're under the cosh like that, and the other team gets their back up, away they go, and they were putting a lot of pressure. Although we did, withstand a lot of that pressure, and we thought that. Potentially, I mean, how many times have the All Blacks been down in half time? I thought second half they're going to come out. Yeah. But they didn't. They didn't fire, and I don't know whether that was just too much pressure on them. It was great defence by Ireland, and their forward pack are big and strong, and we were trying to do things under pressure, and it was too late. We lost any creativity under that pressure. So I just think Ireland outplayed us.
Without a doubt they did. It's also hard, of course, for 20 minutes to be playing with 13, 14 men.
Yeah.
That's got to wear you down. But I thought that we looked like 2021 all over again. I just felt that there was a bit of helter-skelter going on. At one stage there, Reece got the ball and he ran backwards, ran forwards, ran sideways. There was no settling down. And I just thought that we went wide too early in this game against their rush defence.
Yeah.
Whereas Ireland, they were just doing short passes, running around the corner, just taking on our forward pack the whole time.
Yeah,
and then
that's right.
They call that earning the right to go wide. Right?
Yeah.
So I just thought we went wide too early, despite all of the turmoil that was going on at that time.
Yeah. So let's all go for this weekend, and it's going to be the decider and a big excitement. And Will Jordan would have come into the side in that first test, and David Havili would have as well. So no big surprises there. They have stuck with the forward pack, apart from a change at prop. Is that right?
So they have got Whitelock back.
Yes.
So I like the look of the pack again. The pack is the first test pack, basically. Scott Barrett at 6, Whitelock at lock. The back row is as it was in that first test. Loving the forward pack. And some changes for creativity and extra kicking back up for Bodie Barrett in bringing in Havili to 12, Will Jordan onto the wing. I mean, you would pick him anyway, wouldn't you? So, 3 Mako in the lineup, David Havili, Sever Reece and Will Jordan. I'm looking forward to us getting back to the basics that won us that first test. And to your point, often you remark about Bodie Barrett's kicking.
Yeah.
He's got to be a bit more authoritative with the kicking game, doesn't he? And perhaps Aaron Smith needs to just make sure there's, if he's going to put up box kicks, there's some contest for the ball.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's what really agrees me, was when we just give it straight back to the opposition. And especially with Ireland, they're going to take us on. You know, sometimes they return it and we're lucky. It's that old cat and mouse game, who's the first to make a mistake. But, you know, really, it just keeps on. You know, at the moment, we're not really contesting it. You know, obviously there were a lot of calls for Mo'unga to come in to create some creativity, but they're obviously backing Barrett. As you say, I do like Havili there because it does give us another option to perhaps put it to touch. But I like the game where we kick into their territory and then we go and contest their line out.
Yeah, I think we all like a game where you know, the kicking is for territory and then to get a chance at getting the possession back inside their 22, not ours. So I'm with you on that. Look, it'll be a great test. I know that Wellington's going to go off. I think it's a full house, and I'll be glued in front of a TV to watch it myself. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, quick Tasman Mako update.
Oh, just the same old. Well, not really the same old. The boys are back in town. You know, we're slowly getting them all in. So they get into it properly as a group from next Monday. Induction day. Our ladies are having a trial this weekend, and they get into it and start playing the Whareparma Cup next weekend.
Great.
So the two teams, the two Tasman Mako teams, are really starting to put in the mahi for what I hope are great seasons.
A quick mention, I noticed that there was a Griffins and Marlborough Reds, or Red Devils, was it, team announced?
So development.
So it's a development squad.
Absolutely. It's that next. Some of those young men will become. They'll get game time. You know, with injuries the way they are in a long season, some of those men are going to get games. But yes, I was impressed with both squads actually. The depth in our region out of club footy is pretty remarkable. Very talented players, and I'll watch those games with interest because that's to me a lot of future Mako in those two squads. Both of those are on our community Facebook page, Tasman Community Rugby Facebook page. So have a look and check it out. But club players galore.
Good stuff. More info there.
www.mako.nz.
Fantastic. And that's a wrap. My thanks to Martin Vercoe for joining us on the podcast, and of course the mighty Les Edwards. You can hear this podcast on talknelson.co.nz and on our Facebook page and on Fresh FM every Friday night at 9 p.m. And we'll speak to you again next week on the Mako Rugby Roundup. Have a great weekend.
The Mako Rugby Roundup. Talk Nelson Radio. It's the talk of Nelson.